The film answers a question that none of us wanted the answer to. How do Smurfs procreate? How do they breed? I know the answer, sadly. The definitive answer. It would make Jake Gyllenhaal from Donnie Darko's head spin.
This is so illogical, about being a Smurf.
They breed with a thing called poots. The snooter poots is the full term. These derpy, walled-eyed, hairy fuzzballs voiced by Natasha Lyonne, who sounds like she smokes, 5 packs of cigarettes a day. We find out that Nick Offerman Smurf, the brother of Papa Smurf, one of the brothers, he talks about how he puts his Smurf inside of her poots, and that's how we get Smurfs, and that's how we get poots, chat. Smurfs, they don't breed with each other. They breed with whatever the hell these things are. I didn't want to know that, but now I do, and so do you. So I just saw the Smurfs movie, Smurfs 2025, the latest theatrical attempt to adapt the Smurfs to the big screen. Is it good? Well, before I go ahead and answer that question, I do want to just share my overall thoughts on the Smurfs in general, the franchise. I grew up watching the original Smurfs cartoon, watching the reruns on Cartoon Network and on Boomerang, and I always found that they were really, really fun. It wasn't my favorite cartoon at the time, but it was wholesome. It was charming. I liked the animation style. I liked the sense of adventure, fantasy adventure. It was a good time. I also saw some of the long form specials. I don't remember the name of the one big one. Something to do like a magic flute, the Smurfs and the magic flute or something, and Gargamel wanted the flute and caused chaos, mischief, and all that. It was also set during the Middle Ages, which I always just assumed was the setting for the Smurfs. Just kind of went hand in hand, with the property. It was a good setting, I think, for the franchise. And then of course you had the Sony era films, which threw the Smurfs into a modern day setting, going against what they originally were, and that was just pure nightmare fuel across the board, just absolutely terrible. And then they canceled the planned third film. They were trying to do like a Smurfs trilogy, and they went back to more of the classic Smurfs, set during the Middle Ages, with the Lost Village, and not a great movie, but definitely better than what came before, at least for Sony, which, is interesting. They're actually doing pretty well for themselves right now in terms of their animated projects. I mean, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Mitchell vs. the Machines, obviously, is amazing. Most recently, K-pop Demon Hunters, which is just blowing up across the world right now, and it was one of my favorite movies this year. So it's just so crazy how Sony's been doing so well in the animation sphere at the moment. But for people that don't know, the Smurfs is no longer under Sony. It was actually acquired by Paramount in the last couple of years, Paramount Pictures. And we have this film, Smurfs, featuring Rihanna, led by Rihanna, who of course is so well known for her acting abilities. Even though the trailers and marketing for this movie looked like eyeball cancer, and featured cringe humor and modern pop culture references, maybe, just maybe it could be good, right? Nah, this movie is pretty much a giant pile of shit for the most part. But before explaining as to why I feel the way I do, you guys need to know what's going on in this latest Smurf adventure. I imagine many of you don't care, but I'm gonna tell you anyway. The film initially follows this unnamed Smurf, dubbed No Name Smurf, who is new to Smurf Village. And essentially, while wandering around in the forest, he gains powers inexplicably. And Smurf Village, at Smurf Village, No Name, he wants to show off, of course, his magic powers, even though everyone said, Smurfs can't do magic. And he pretty much summons a sky portal thing. And this then causes Papa Smurf and some other Smurfs to be captured by Gargamel's brother, Razamel. Yes, Gargamel's a brother, and his name is Razamel. And then No Name, Smurfette, Brainy, Hefty, Worry, Clumsy, all the recognizable Smurfs in the Smurfs franchise, and also a turtle. It's very weird. They set off to find Ken, who is the brother of Papa Smurf, and they have to head to the real world, of course, and they head to Paris, and chaos and Zoom calls ensue. So to be a little positive at the top, I do think the premise is a bit of an interesting idea. You know, a Smurf that doesn't have a thing. Literally a Smurf having an existential crisis. That to me is interesting. And I'm thinking, like, you can do a lot with that. You can actually tell a wholesome story, you know, about someone finding themselves. A Smurfing finding himself. I think that's really cool. But that story eventually just gets lost in all the poorly written jokes and modern day reference, sadly. Also, this movie has a hell of a cast. John Goodman, Nick Offerman, Octavia Spencer, Kurt Russell. Fucking Kurt Russell, who plays like Warrior Smurf, a Warrior Smurf in this movie. Plus a ton of other just recognizable people and other talented folks. You know, are any of them given any really good material? No. None of them are given really good material to work with. Of course not. But I am kind of shocked how so much talent is in this movie. I guess just the pay must have been just really good. Lastly, in terms of the positives, you know, there is a fun montage at one point, you know, near the end of the film that kind of plays around with different art and animation styles that, you know, it even honors some adaptations of Smurfs in different mediums. I like that. That was actually pretty clever. It's one of the best animated bits of the film. But that's where the positives end. You know, the movie just constantly struggles if it's for kids, teens, nostalgic adults, and just leads to so much awkward humor and just forced emotional beats that just make your eyes roll in the back of your skull while watching it. There's such an overuse of modern day references, dated pop culture jokes, TikTok dances, slang that just feels so pandering, and it just makes the film age instantly. I mean, there's a big running bit about Zoom calls throughout this movie. There's an entire segment that follows like a DoorDash thing where the Smurfs have to infiltrate Razamel's castle and they have to make use of a knockoff DoorDash. I mean, you name it. Just so many scenes like that are featured in the film. And the movie just has such like a lack of magic and charm, like as I brought up before, like, you know, set during the Middle Ages and things, you know, fantasy setting. You know, the whimsical forest-based appeal of Smurfs, it's just been replaced by urban chaos and product placement and Instagram filters, honestly. And overall, like, the animation just feels overly glossy and kind of lack the timeless artistry of the earlier, you know, cartoons, the early entries, the shorts, and the animation just looks so cheap. This looks like the most cheap animation in any of the previous Smurfs film. I mean, the designs for the characters aren't as disturbing as like the original two Sony movies, I would say, but still, you can tell that just feels like there's been a drop in the animation quality. You have a really obnoxious soundtrack in this movie. I mean, pop songs are just inserted awkwardly all the time, often disrupting just the mood and overwhelming, you know, no scenes. You know, it's like loud noises, bright colors. That's what you get in this film, and the film, I think, just it prioritizes star power over storytelling. You know, many appearances just felt so shoehorned, you know, just for marketing purposes. I mean, Rihanna. I mean, the movie is selling itself on Smurfette is played by Rihanna. Rihanna is Smurfette, which, I mean, listen, Rihanna, while a very talented singer and beautiful woman, cannot act or voice act to save her life. She's so awkward as the voice for Smurfette in this movie. Rihanna's natural voice just didn't match the gentle, playful tone, you know, traditionally associated with Smurfette. Her delivery often comes across as too cool or just very detached. I mean, her lines, which are just meant to be heartfelt, because most of the movie focuses on her, No Name Smurf. They're just any lines that are meant to be like heartfelt, funny, or inspiring just often just fell flat, you know, due to her monotone or casual delivery. You know, her modern stylized speech just didn't blend well with the rest of the cast, who are actually trying to maintain some of the more traditional animated tones from the original Smurfs, you know, cartoon. You know, while, you know, some musical numbers were added to feature her voice, which is, you know, why they probably got her, they just fell out of place. and disrupted the flow of the story. You know, like just music videos dropped in a cartoon. They're not in service of the storytelling itself. Unlike something like K-pop Demon Hunters, which is about the music industry and is following this K-pop band that also slays demons and stuff. Like, the music services the story. It propels the plot forward. It describes the characters themselves. This does not do that. Finally, the film answers a question that none of us wanted the answer to. How do Smurfs procreate? How do they breed? I know the answer, sadly. The definitive answer. It would make Jake Gyllenhaal from Donnie Darko's head spin. They breed with a thing called poots. The snooter poots is the full term. These derpy, walled-eyed, hairy fuzzballs voiced by Natasha Lyonne, who sounds like she smokes, 5 packs of cigarettes a day. We find out that Nick Offerman Smurf, the brother of Papa Smurf, one of the brothers, he talks about how he puts his Smurf inside of her poots, and that's how we get Smurfs, and that's how we get poots, chat. Smurfs, they don't breed with each other. They breed with whatever the hell these things are. I didn't want to know that. But now I do, and so do you. You're welcome. This movie is trash. It's an abomination against all that is good and right in this world, and I just feel drained after seeing it. I mean, my body's falling apart. I injured myself while watching this film. Look at my forehead. What about you guys? What did you think of the Smurfs movie? Smurfs 2025. Did you actually like the film? You're like, you know what, Chris? I think you're being way too harsh. This is a fun, charming little movie, and I think Rihanna is one of the best actors working today. Were you more mixed on it? You're like, well, I like this, but I didn't like that. Or you're like me, and you just downright hate this film. It just makes you never want to watch another Smurfs-related piece of content ever again. Let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.